I gotta tell you, there's a huge secret that you have to learn. It's called time blocking.
I,
You gotta learn how to manage the calendar. So time blocking is how I can.
yeah, for all this coaching and everything that you're doing, and especially trying to scale it. So to go from the 300 to the 500, what kind of what? If you don't know to say balance, I would say maybe the systems you use. What is it that gets you up in the morning and let's say we're going for it? Hello, Jennifer. It's Cindy Tant with Sip, Sell, Repeat Real Estate. I'm in Pensacola area, and I am so excited to be able to speak with Jennifer. Is it Kenna? Kenna. Yep, Kenna. Today. And we are Floridians, more or less, here talking to each other. She's from down in South Florida, but still on the same Gulf Coast here. And so let me tell you a little about Jenna, founder and CEO of the home selling team, Jennifer Kenna home selling team with EXP in Bradenton. And her team recorded 240 transaction sides and 86 million in sales in 2024. That's amazing. Ranking number 24 in Florida with EXP, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes.
You are a licensed broker. Let's see what else we got. Multi-year top producer, 5-star award recipient. You're also a coach and a mentor and leading training programs. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how you manage all that with your actual sales. Now, let's see.
Yes.
And I'm excited today to come to you with Sip, Sell, Repeat in the Pensacola area. I was very fortunate just to go see the Blue Angels practice out on the beach. And it's a beautiful day today in November. It's like shorts time, which is kind of now mid-November. But Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself too. I just kind of gave the
I appreciate that.
But tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about what you got going down in Bradenton.
Yeah. So I have lived here now. I guess I've been here 10 years from Florida, but from the East Coast, and met my husband on a cruise. He moved me over to the West Coast, which is always kind of scary. Being a realtor, trying to move or relocate. So that it really challenged me to grow my business. So I went from having a huge fear of people to a brand new market. So I had to learn quickly how to do my own marketing, how to generate my own online business. So it really challenged me to learn a new area. So
I'm assuming that he was worth the move, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally worth it. He actually has 3 daughters. So now I also became a stepmom. So I have 3 beautiful daughters and 2 grandchildren. So definitely worth the move.
All right.
And my business has grown. So it's been good. So yeah, so I first started as a realtor, just trying to figure this whole thing out. Pretty difficult business when you're first getting started. Definitely have a lot of sympathy for the agents that we train as they're coming on. I'm like, I get it. It's a lot. It takes some time to get kind of your feet under you. So now I just have kind of that heart for coaching and training others. So now we have a team. My team is about 35 agents locally. And now I'm also doing some online coaching training. I help agents all over the country and Canada to start their business if they want to build a team and kind of grow and mentor to be the same size that we are. So this year we're actually going to be, I think we're in the top 10 now, XP. We're going to do over about 300 transactions. And next year we want to go to 5. So we're really looking to scale and grow. And it's just working with people and helping people. So the more you give back, the more you receive. So it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So how do you balance this coaching and recruiting and selling? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I got to tell you, there's a huge secret that you have to learn. It's called time blocking. You got to learn how to manage the calendar. So time blocking is how I can.
Yeah. For all this coaching and everything that you're doing and especially trying to scale it. So to go from the 300 to the 500, what kind of, if you don't know to say balance, I would say maybe the systems you use. What is it that gets you up in the morning and let's say we're going for it?
That's right. So I have a really good coach and mentor. So I feel like anytime that you're surrounding yourself by somebody who's achieving higher levels, it just challenges you to grow. So if I stayed in some of the same rooms with the same people, I probably would just stay where we're at. But we do challenge ourselves with some really great coaches. So, but even the best coaches have coaches. So really important that consistent learning and growing. So our mentor, he's actually runs a team out of Minnesota, and they're selling, I think, almost 800 homes this year. So I have some really great mentors. They're just going to help me build the path. I'm about 2 years behind him to be able to develop what he's accomplished. So
it's amazing. And I try to, as a broker myself, I try to let my agents also know that you've got to surround yourself with people that are doing better than you. And therefore, that's the only way you're going to grow. And I'm got 30 years into this. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I'm having a good time with Sip, Sell, Repeat, and just being able to share ideas with younger real estate agents, women that are coming into the field. And I know the guys are out there, but us ladies, we do some things certainly differently. What are some of the things that you like to promote or share with younger women that may be getting started in real estate, and how they can, or what with EXP's model to enhance their growth in the profession?
Yeah, it's a good question. So anyone who's just getting started, the first day we actually do a training in my office, and we call it Kenna Camp. It's like a boot camp. So we try to just show them really the real life expectations, because I think if you have the right expectations, you can absolutely thrive and grow. If you come in because you're watching a lot of really great TV shows and you think it's similar to that, we have to just teach them, right up front, this is what the time commitment looks like. You're going to work really hard at first without the reward. So if you're used to being, let's say their past was a W-2 career, I'm like, man, we're going to work on your mindset. We're going to totally shift everything that you're used to, because now you're an entrepreneur. So I think a lot of it starts with, what is the expectation and what does every day look like? Setting them up with a schedule. So most agents kind of just wing it. They get a call and they have a new listing appointment, so they run off to that. And then they're kind of sitting back and waiting for the next client to come forward. So we really set them up with really strong systems, really strong disciplines. This is where you time block and where you spend your time during the day, just so they're more productive. And then they really start to feel like, now that they have an agenda, they start to get a lot of momentum. So contacts equals contracts. You cannot be a secret agent. You cannot be sitting at home waiting for your phone to ring. I mean, you really have to be putting yourself out there. And so we want to let ladies know that maybe that's not what they want. They may not like doing those kinds of things and networking and talking to their neighbors and asking for the business. And I'm like, it's tough. If you don't, you're going to starve. So you have to kind of know that going into it, that it's a sales business. You're paid whenever you're assisting someone buy and sell their home, but you're only paid whenever it closes. So setting an expectation, I think, is really important up front.
I totally agree. And so that they know what they're getting into. So what do you feel are the biggest misconceptions of the public about us as?
Yeah. Yep. So unfortunately, I think because as an industry as a whole, we just don't really train realtors. So they get out of the schooling, and schooling, might take 2 weeks, take an online class or a weekend. It's not a lot of time and money to get licensed. So then you don't have any on the job training. So you passed the test. You're like, great. Now what? You don't know how to get your first customer. So I think as an industry, we just kind of fail at really offering people that hands-on mentorship. Any other career, if you wanted to be a hairstylist, you would get hands-on training. You'd shadow and mentor under somebody, and try different things before you got your first customer, and you didn't want to mess up their hair. But real estate, when we're negotiating hundreds of thousands of dollars of contracts, we don't get that kind of mentorship. So one thing I really liked with joining EXP, I was an independent broker first and then partnered with EXP, is that they really offer a ton of training, and it's very hands-on. It's very collaborative instead of competitive. Where I think as an industry, it's kind of competitive. When I worked in a broker's office, everyone there kind of has their own system, their own process, their own clients. They're not sharing information. They're not offering help or assistance. We didn't all share the same marketing plan or anything like that. We competed directly against each other, even though we're sitting next to each other. So kind of, I just think the training really is lacking in our business, which is why I feel like there's a need that I can help. Just that really hands-on mentorship. How do you get your first customer? And then what do you say to them? What does that process look like? I came from healthcare originally. When I was in healthcare, there was a process. You go to the doctor's office, you sit in the waiting room, they call you up and get your insurance. You go back and they weigh you and take your blood pressure. Then you see the doctor, then they write a script. So it's like there's a process over and over. That's one thing I really like about your marketing. The repeat. I'm like, it's true. There's a process and a system, and then it is rinse, repeat. So I think creating that system up front and giving them the tools that they need to succeed, and then rinse, repeat. Go meet your next client.
Well, yeah. And the sip part, whether it's coffee or wine, it kind of gives us a little bit more of incentive. So as we either have our morning coffee or we have, there it is.
Just because I loved your marketing so much.
Well, and I wanted to I want to show you too. When we get off, I'm going to get your address, because I have this little coffee cup ready for you.
Oh,
so
I want
to send that to you, because thank you again for doing this. as I've been talking with ladies from all over the country, the same theme is there. It's a lot of work, but systems, putting those systems in place, relationship business still, because where do you feel, because all this stuff is hitting us in the field, I mean, all the AI and everything else that's coming, systems that we put in place, or what do you see as the big picture 5 years from now? If you're,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. So I have a lot of insight on this actually. But no, I definitely see that there is a lot of competition coming into our marketplace. OfferPad, I remember first started coming in that
Mm,
kind of iBuyer market 5,
right.
6 years ago. And I was at a mastermind. I'm like, this is a big deal. Like they're going to take over a huge market share. And everyone's like, oh no, that's just, the one-off, the customer that's desperate, that takes less money than their home is worth, that kind of situation. I'm like, I don't know. To be able to put your address into a website, spit out a value, and then go right to an as-is contract, fill in the blank and be under contract, that's pretty amazing. So to not have showings, to not have the open houses, the hassle, I'm like, that's pretty amazing. So I really foresee, and especially Zillow being our 1,000-pound gorilla in our backyard,
Yeah.
a lot of huge publicly traded multi-billion-dollar companies that are coming directly for our business. So we have, Redfin just partnered with Rocket Mortgage. So
Mhm.
that's all this idea of this online buying and selling. They want the Amazon of home selling. So when they obviously they have the systems, they have the employees, they have the finances. I think it's going to be really hard for realtors that are working independently to compete. Other than your mom or your sister, someone that's definitely
Mhm.
use you. I don't know how they're going to compete. So I actually joined with a lot of other realtors around the country, and we're building our own kind of network because that way we can stay in touch and we can be stronger than our backyard. And you got to have some strength behind you. You got to have some numbers behind you to be able to compete, as these companies are really coming for our business.
I, that's a light bulb that is, I think, going off in a lot of people's heads with that. Before we even got on here, you said that you moved to a whole different area. So you had to start all over with that sphere and meeting people. So when you started all over, as far as getting a database put together, were you already with EXP or were you in the independent?
I was independent. So just myself.
Okay.
And then
So you were you
I
yourself. So
had,
what did you do to get
yeah,
yourself it? Because there's some ladies on here that they're in that same situation. Maybe they're moving into a whole nother area. What is something that you may have done, or since you can share with us that you did to get to where you're at today?
sure. So I will say it's the power of just networking. You really have to get to know people. So luckily my husband's very outgoing as well. So that made it a little bit more fun. I'm not trying to go out there pounding the pavement or anything. But yes, I joined a local chamber. I joined women's groups. I joined neighborhood community things. I did, cleaning up garbage with different groups. And we did all this give back stuff, charities, anything that you're going to get in front of a lot of people. It gives you the opportunity to earn people's trust. So we're in the relationship business, and with something like a house sale or purchase, it's so competitive. They're used to salespeople. They're used to realtors that kind of force them into doing business with them, or I'm not going to show your house. We're going to blacklist you in the neighborhood if you don't sell your house with me. Like they're used to these very strange, desperate sales strategies. You have to go back to being in the people business. Just care about people. Give back. My husband and I ran a soccer club. So, Saturday morning is my showing time. Instead of showing houses, I'm handing out hot dogs and hamburgers to families. But it gave me the opportunity to meet 600 families. So we just did a lot of things that were more in it for somebody else than for myself. And then the business comes. So if you're always in the business of trying to just take care of people and helping solve problems, your business will grow. Just
Oh, I,
tradition.
I absolutely agree with that. Do you have any type of like I have a group of my best clients of referrers. I call it the Flip Flop Nation. And so we do special social events, and things like that as we get together since every time I hold an event, 2 to 3, 4 referrals happen. Do you do anything like that with special events? You said you did that initially. Do you do that on a continuing basis of ideas to share with the ladies too?
We sure do. So yeah, so we have a lot of like women's groups and realtor groups that we belong with now locally. If anyone ever needs like a speaker, I'll give up my time. So I speak at different events and I meet so many people that way. So like even a Tom Ferry, Craig Proctor was a coach. I think he might have retired now, but I would always just give up my time. So Cole asked to go be on a podcast. Absolutely. I might meet, or I might talk to somebody. So I think I find myself saying yes to a lot of things, but it's just more of just a give back, because then you don't look like you have an agenda. I'm not meeting a neighbor because I'm a realtor and I'm dropping off my business card. I'm helping her, walk a dog, or helping her, we'll check her mail while they're out of town. So that kind of stuff is just going to go a lot further. But then it feels good too. You don't feel like you're peddling business. You don't feel like you're twisting someone's arm to work with you. I mean, it really just feels natural. And you're just helping people with problems. So I've even helped somebody that was a foreign national that was moving here, wasn't able to buy. So I helped them get into a rental. I helped them open a bank account. I helped them get started, get settled. 6 years later, they buy an $800,000 house from us. So I think you just got to get.
I know it's kind of crazy too. And I'm pretty decent. I've been in this 30 years. So I'm a pretty decent referral database. But I had this one gal, it's still crazy, is like for 10, I think it was maybe 9 years, she never bought a house. And she kept apologizing, but she referred 10 people. I said, you don't have to buy the house, but because I helped her get a rental and then, went to her wedding and, I said, it's okay. And so I was always, oh, you got to go talk to Cindy. And I think that as people getting into real estate, I don't know about you, but some of my best friends are people that I've sold houses to that I didn't know in the beginning, and form those relationships. And now their kids are having kids in the houses, and because of the longevity of the profession and those ups and downs in real estate, we have them for sure. But when, being that resource for somebody to come if they need that help, what's the craziest real estate transaction you could think of that you've ever had? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I've had many of those, but I can think of one that at least recently, so that's kind of fresh. Some friends of ours we met at a party, so mutual friends who have bought houses, their kids have bought houses, they referred us a ton of people at our Christmas party, meet somebody else, super nice couple. Then they're going through a divorce. So don't get the strange calls anyway, where it's like, well, don't tell him, but I'm like, oh no, because we know them both.
Right.
So we end up having a situation that we knew before the divorce happened, before he knew.
Oh, no.
That was fun. So I'm trying to provide advice without overstepping. And I ended up helping, they went through the divorce. We made everything very amicable. I was the agent for both of them to go purchase second properties. We helped close on the one so they could move on. And I think it's just, leading with professionalism and grace and kindness and just trying to help people through a tough time. And since then, the process was not fun, but I'll say at the closing, it was emotional. Everyone was happy. They were moving on to the next chapter.
Okay.
It's a friend.
Yeah. Didn't plan on getting 2 deals or 3 deals out of that, but that's what happened, right?
What happened?
Have you ever and I'm sure you have, because I like to ask some of the same questions. Can you remember a mistake that you've made in the past that you go, man, I will never do that again? Is there anything that you can think of?
Many. That's how we learn. So I would say putting maybe the business then, as I'm starting to have lots of success, putting the business ahead of everything else.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, you're not going to the dentist, you're not making time for the gym, you're not making time for the family and the kids. And, it goes by so fast. So I think 10 years for me felt like 2. And I think at the beginning, just probably because I was getting up and started, I was putting in lots of hours, but then it's a team business. So you can't say no, right? Oh, I have a new client and it's, a big paycheck. So it's really hard to kind of step back. So that would probably be maybe my only little regret. But then I've learned that it was always about having that balance, because now, I had 3 daughters, they're all moved out of the house now. Right. So it's like, man, I missed some years there that maybe I should have been around more. So I think just kind of having a life balance, making sure you take time for yourself, your family, and the business, not letting it take over your entire life. So I do also even with my cell phone, I'm really particular about giving out my cell phone number. I have a business number. I tell people my hours. It's okay to not work on a weekend as a realtor. At first it feels scary, but then when you have relationship with people, I'm going to give my full time and energy, but it's okay to have a weekend off, to not work on a weekend and say, I'll get back to you on Monday. My doctor does that. My accountant does that, and we're
so that's what I was just going to say. A lot of people call me Dr. Tant, which is PhD, but I always refer and I come back to them and say, hey, my doctor doesn't work on the weekend, and so, but could we do, no, I I'm doing this, or I've got my mother's 94 right now. So there's some precious time that we're dealing with some issues, but wanting to be with her and spend this time. And so, and she's a hoot. She really is. Very, still physically very healthy. It's the mental that's been a little bit frustrating, but we're dealing with it. But I always, and I feel that from the 30 years of, I'm go, 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 go. Now, for me, being in a position that I do travel a lot, but I've got great employees, I've got great agents, I've got property management company, B&B. So a lot of things are going on, but like I've gone for a week and I come back and the place is still standing. It's kind of one of those things that way back when I would have my phone with me on vacation and everybody go, what are you doing? It's kind of one of those things. As you're, I guess you probably got to answer this from the burnout perspective. You learn to slow down, basically, right? Just learn to slow down and
learning how to work with people. I like that you mentioned that too. It's so important. There's just an abundance of business out there. So we don't have to hang on to every single client. We don't have to, if I don't send the signatures, it's not going to be done right. So kind of having that control over every little aspect. I mean, you got to really learn how to train and invest in other people, and then be able to trust them to do the part of the job. So then you can take time off. Because the burnout, absolutely, the work won't stop. I mean, there's always another house. There's always another client. There's always more to do. So I think having trust and leverage with your team and with other people, like it's okay to not take that deal. You know what? Do I want to spend the next 3 months showing property in St. Pete 30 minutes away? No, not really. I'd prefer to be at home every night. So instead, I'm going to refer that to a friend, let them take the business, and just know that the next one will come. So
how long do you take it? How long do you feel it takes people to get to that point? Because when you first get in the business, we are gunning, we are going, we're taking everybody, which we shouldn't, which now, I know, hey, I'm interviewing you just like you're interviewing me. I don't even know if I want to work with you or not. And they go, what? Kind of thing. Well, yeah, because I can do that at this stage. But what do you think triggered it, got to the point where you could just say, okay, this is my life. I'm ready to do it like this.
Yeah, I think you just have to, again, just doing that time blocking. I can't talk about it enough because it just changed my life. So I have a certain time in the day that I'm going to go on listing appointments. So it's like, all right, my listing appointments from 10 to 12. I always know what my time is. And if I have, 4 and I can't be in 4 places at once, well, that's when it's time to give it to somebody else. So you have to first, you have to get an overflow of business where it's not just you doing it all. Right. If you have a good overflow and you're keeping comfortable, what your time can, what you can accomplish, how many people you can serve at one time. Because I also had the mistake of giving bad service. I didn't mean to, but if I had 6, 7 clients, I'm trying to close in a month. Well, I may not be the best service for each one of them. So I'm also doing them a disservice by trying to hold it all in. Keep it all.
Yes, juggling all those balls that the average person doesn't understand. Well, it doesn't understand what we do as a realtor. So it's educating that seller and the buyer. It's like, whoa, you may think we make a lot of money, but when you go down and look at everything we have to do, it comes out to about 10 cents an hour. Period. You start doing it. I went to a hairdresser a couple of weeks ago and a young hairdresser, he wasn't there. And I asked my hairdresser, I said, where's the new guy? He go, well, he's only like late 20s or something. I don't even think he's probably mid 20s. Goes, well, my hairdresser goes, he has a life balance that he only wants to work 3 days in this business because he has his rest of his life. And I just cracked up laughing. That's okay, because I didn't know that in my 20s.
Right. Good for them that they knew that so young. So
yeah, different generations, that's for sure. When I know you have a team and you have that training, can you share with us, and I know everybody's different and they go through the steps maybe at a different pace. Can you share with us the things that you may look for in a person that you're saying, okay, I know this gal is going to make it? What are those things that you can pinpoint that, what do they do? What do you do? Or something that you're going to, hey, she's going to be a good realtor.
Yeah. So it's always, I want to see the work ethic, I think is always number one. We're always kind of looking for that. So if somebody doesn't see the purpose in calling someone back quickly or giving bad service or like immediately, I'm like, it's not going to work. So work ethic, I think, has to be first. And then I think a lot of the skills can be trained. So if they're coachable and willing and they want to learn, and a lot of the skills I think are trainable. So as long as they have the and also compassion. I think we're in such a emotional business. I think you really have to have compassion, take care of people, want the best interest of somebody. Unfortunately, I've had lots of agents that we've trained. Some of them I thought were going to be fantastic, and they didn't work out. And other ones I'm like, I don't know, they might struggle and they do great. So I don't try not to judge too much, but I will say as long as they have a care to want to take care of people, do a good job, and then have that high level of work ethic, I think they can be trained the rest of the stuff, the rest of the steps.
Oh, I agree with you. And we have such a unique profession. Where else, literally, I mean, when you start thinking about professions where we get paid the same. It's the same, all sexes, whatever. We don't have that hierarchy. But yeah, those of us who may have different splits or things like that's different, but it's still a commission, which you're not allowed to talk about commissions. But it's been so much fun, hasn't it? Going through that little scenario right now. When you first, what's the word I want to say? Bring that new agent in, and you go through those steps, you get them going and everything. Is there specific timelines that you have or milestones that you would like for them? I know everybody's different, but you would like for them to reach at specific times.
Yes, we do. So we have kind of our suggested outline, our time frame. It all kind of starts with what their motivation and goal is too, because I think there's times where, I'm pushing the timeline that I would want if I was in their shoes, but I'm not. So we really sit down and go over what are their goals first. Like, what are you looking to accomplish? The hairdresser that said, I only want to do 3 days a week. Okay, that's good to know. It's going to take you a little bit longer to get there. But if your financial goals are in line with that, well, then that's great. That's okay too. So who am I to say that their goals are too low or too big or whatever? So we start out, what is it that they're looking for? And then we do have a suggested timeline. And some people that just jump in, they're not second guessing. They're not overthinking. They're not analysis paralysis. I just say, this is what you do. And they just do it and they have immediate success. So one of our agents, I think he's also like 25, 26, never sold a house before, brand new to the industry. He had 5 contracts in 5 weeks. He just did the things. He's like, this works. I'm like, great, good job. Now go do more of it. Keep it. But we have some other agents that, they don't get a deal for 60 days or 90 days. And it's at their own pace. So they're either just overthinking it, overcomplicating it. But a lot of times, if sales aren't there, I always say it's usually the salesperson that's getting in the way. So if our job is to facilitate and make the process smooth and easy and hassle-free, then it should flow. So if there's ever kind of a pinch in a business, I'm going, this person said they wanted to buy. It's been 4 months. You know what they want. What are we doing? There's obviously something in the process that the buyer's agent is stopping the flow because nobody wants to look for houses forever.
I had a couple of gay guys who were being 4 weekends in a row, 48 houses. And they were referrals. Of very good friends of mine. And every house we went to, they had to take pictures of everything, even though they weren't going to buy it. So the very last weekend, the very last house, I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm not showing you any more houses. And they said, okay, we'll buy this one. I said, I could have done this 2 weeks ago. It was just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it was about 5 years ago. So a very established agent. But again, it was a referral. And I love the other people who referred him to me and we're all friends and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, okay, finally, I just put my foot down.
Yeah.
This is it. We're doing it or I am out the door. Okay, we'll buy this house.
Yeah. And I think that part of it, setting the expectation. Maybe they think they're supposed to look at 40 houses. Maybe they think that's normal. And I had one customer, she said that the only thing she was worried about, she thought it happened too soon. She said, well, we've only looked at 2 or 3. And, I feel like I need to go look at more. And I go, that means that I listened to what you told me you wanted. That means I produced the things that you said you wanted. And then it should be easy. So you should find what you're looking for. And it being fast and smooth, hey, that's a win. So she was worried it was too quick and too easy. And then I asked her a year later, do you like the house? Was it a good decision? She was, oh my gosh, we love it here. We've made all these friends. I'm like, perfect. So,
well, what about a listing that you've taken that the seller said, oh man, this didn't take very long at all?
Oh, maybe I underpriced it, right?
Yes.
Seemed like it should have been harder to sell.
Yes.
So it's so funny. So I think just setting the expectation with the customer too, like it's okay that we walk into your dream house and you see one and it's the one, everything you're looking for. To me, that means you know what you're looking for. Like that's a good thing, not a negative thing. The more you see, the less likely you are to write an offer. the more confusing it is, the longer it's going to take, so I think knowing what you want first and then finding it, hey, that's a win.
I agree, and getting to that point, and sometimes they're going like this and you're trying to go this. And yes, exactly, to try to keep them there. So we are definitely psychologists and everything in between, I should say. What do I should say, these great shows on TV, HGTV and everything, reflect to people as to how easy it is to buy or sell a house? What do you feel?
What I always liked, and I watch all of them. My husband's like, "Why are you watching this? You sell real estate during the day, and I'm watching the whole." But I like them. But all those like beach houses and all those places that they go, I always loved how they have 3. Here are the 3 houses that we're going to look at, and you pick 1, 2, or 3. And I'm like, why don't I do that in my business? That is a fantastic idea. So we've gotten to the point now where we down select homes. I'm like, there's no reason to be looking at 40 homes. We can find the photos online. We can do, a lot of them have video walkthroughs. We can do a floor plan. So we really encourage less showings because I do think it's inconvenient for the seller. I mean, that's why sellers don't like listing their houses, a bunch of time wasters and people not writing offers, just looky-loos. So I think that's really our job to do the down select. So I love HGTV for that because that's a big part of what we do. Limit the showings, find what you want, and then write offers. But of course, it's not always that easy. So in practice, in theory, and then in practice could be different. But so then they also just kind of always act like you're always showing luxury homes. So I had a new agent. She was like, Jen, every house I see, it's like dirty and 2 dogs. And I'm like, well, that's real people, real homes that people live in, not model homes. We do sell a lot of new construction. So if you prefer that, go show people new homes. But, they kind of had that impression from the movies that it's $20 million luxury listings, walk right in and the house is a model home. They said, well, that's not very realistic.
That's true. As they notice later on.
Right.
Have you had any experiences, and as we've gone through our careers, where you've had another agent it's a very difficult transaction. Let's just say that.
Sure.
And how did you handle that? Because we all don't all get along. I think we all know that, but we have to work together. Right. So is there anything that comes to mind that may have had to do this, or, anything that comes to mind right now?
Yeah. And I would say even with realtors, I try to set the boundary too, because sometimes I have them calling at 9:00 at night or, the customer. I'm like, no, that's not how I do business. I said, I'm very happy to talk to you between these hours. Or I'm very quick to text. If someone wants a text, I can kind of do 2 things at once. So I think setting that kind of expectation, how do you prefer to be communicated with, your hours that you work, those kind of things. Luckily, I do have a team, so they can call the office. They can call my contracts manager. So I just kind of set things up for success up front. Because I hate that when you look down and you see that person's name and you're like, oh my gosh, you feel that gut punch. You're like, oh geez, now what? Now what do they want? So I can always tell, for me, that's a symptom. I go, there's something I did wrong. Because why is this person, frustrating me so much or having this much control over my emotions? And that's when I usually say I must not have established the correct time to call, or, what to call about, what's an emergency, what's not an emergency, kind of situation. Because sometimes I think they're, depending on how their business is, or, they kind of like a little desperate maybe.
Yeah.
So I take it as an opportunity to coach somebody, to talk to them about their business, because it's going to show your professionalism. If you're fighting with the other agent, it's not putting a good experience for my customer. They're like, wow, you can't even handle realtors, I think it kind of hurts my credibility. So I think it's so important that we do work together and that we are on the same mission. And sometimes they need reminded that we're here to help and we want to make this a smooth transaction. I do a lot of training with my team where it's all about win-win. Sometimes I think some agents feel like they have to get one over, or they have to conquer, and they have to, that's not really what the business we're in. You want to take care of that buyer and the seller. You don't want a buyer, getting a $50,000 equity of somebody else's money. No, we want the seller to feel whole. The more that you try to beat someone up or try to get that best deal, I'm like, now you're hurting your reputation for that seller. They're going to remember you too. So I feel like just always making I sleep great at night. A very smooth transaction where everyone's happy, everybody wins. That's how I think it should be.
I love your optimism. I love your standards. How can any other ladies on this podcast in the future, how can they get in touch with you and find out more about you and share some referrals?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. So I'm on social media. So I do have my Instagram, Facebook, I have started a YouTube channel. I even started a channel about food because I love food. So local
Sweet.
restaurants and all that. So I do that's on my YouTube channel. So I know it's the Jennifer Kenna Home Selling Team is my Facebook and Instagram. Or if you just Google me, probably you'll find my YouTube too.
Yeah, just put our names in and there they
Yeah,
are.
realtors are pretty easy to find.
It's very too easy, and sometimes it's like, okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited about your optimism and your systems and how you set your boundaries, because it's a lesson for other agents to learn. And it took me a while to do that. And sometimes, like I told you, it's like, oh man, a referral. I've got, okay. And then you let that air out and you go, okay. Or you call your friend up and say, what the heck is going on with this person?
Yeah.
And keeping it very professional and setting your boundaries, I think it's excellent advice for that new agent or some of us that have been around a while and say, oh man, you got to keep on going. You know, do you have any final words of wisdom to share with the ladies and in the business, just getting in the business, or even that have been around for a while?
Sure. I think it's so important that you work together with people. Like try to find a good network. You know, if you have a team or could join a team or open your own team, somehow where you're not working by yourself. Because I feel like sometimes real estate becomes very lonely. And I don't know why we do this. It's either you're like a hustler and you're 7 days a week and you're working really hard, but you're doing it all yourself. You know, I remember my first hire, I was terrified. Like, how am I going to afford someone else's livelihood? You know, so I started part-time. So I hired a part-time and then we grew together and we learned together, invested, you know, we had a great 8-year run together. So I kind of feel like, don't feel like you have to be lonely and you have to do it yourself. I think we're meant on this earth to network. We're meant to care about other people. We're all on this, you know, big planet together. So just don't try to do it all yourself. So don't be afraid to hire someone. Don't be afraid to partner with someone or work with someone. There's enough business out there for everybody. We don't have to compete every single customer. Maybe I'm not the right agent for every customer. So I had one lady that we just didn't have the same personality type. And I said, you know what? I have an agent on my team that you guys would get along great. And they loved each other. 5-star rating review. I'm like, perfect. So don't kind of do it all by yourself. Because it does. It gets pretty lonely and can be a depressing business. It's a roller coaster sometimes. So at least you're in business with other people. It doesn't feel so heavy. You can have a conversation. They go, oh, I went through that too, or this is what I did. You know, when that happened to me, it really is going to help your sanity to keep moving and to keep growing.
I agree. Or else you're doing a lot more sipping of the wine than the coffee. You know, at the end. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on board. Hang on for a little bit because I'm gonna close out in a minute. But thanks for coming on board and sharing your ideas and your suggestions and excellent advice for the Sip Sell Repeat group. So, if you're inspired by these powerful women in real estate, you'll want to catch the next conversation. Click the video on screen to keep sipping, selling, and leveling up your game.